when we think about 1934 in Germany, we realize why my grandmother came and lived with us in Klatovy. Hitler had come to power, and all those ridiculous, appalling views that he'd expressed in his book, Mein Kampf, he and his followers were gradually able to put into practice. And life for Jewish people would become more and more impossible in that period in Germany. It's very hard to imagine a country that could sway the population with propaganda, could make people begin to believe that they were this great superior race. But you know, I'm sure in history you realize that when Germany lost the Second World War, life had become very, very difficult for German people. There mass unemployment, their money was completely worthless, so that they would go with a suitcase full of notes to buy a loaf of bread. And it really was a very, very difficult time to be living in Germany. People listened and followed. And a country that had these disgusting, racist, appalling ideas of Aryan, what this means I don't know, of Aryan superiority. When you look at Hitler and you look at Goebbels and you see these wonderful Aryan men, and you see what complete and absolute rubbish this whole Aryan racial philosophy was, which meant that only they were superior, that people from countries like Poland, Czechoslovakia, Russia were just fit to be slaves. The Slavs were fit to work for this German race. And people who were in any way different from them, people like the Jews who had different religion, people who had a different color, people like gypsies who had a different way of life, people who were gay, different people were totally, totally inferior. And an appalling idea too, an idea that existed in England too, but which was carried to extreme in Germany, the idea of eugenics, people who were in any way not their ideal of a perfect specimen were not fit to live. So in Germany, when German children who were slow in learning or something were taken away, people imagined they might be going to special schools or something. When older people who were disabled badly were taken away, they thought maybe they're going to hospitals or special care. Then they realized that none of these people ever came home. And it dawned on people they were being murdered. But when other people were being persecuted, when gradually the few people who were brave enough to write to newspapers or preachers who preached were themselves taken away, this situation could grow and grow. And gradually laws were made, laws that just unimaginable. Jewish children couldn't go to a normal school. Jewish shops gradually had to have a yellow star on them so that people wouldn't shop there. Jewish people couldn't sit on a park bench, go to a cinema, sit in a cafe. And then things came to a head. On the 9th of November, 1938, there was this terrible night. 20,000 Jewish men and boys arrested, and more than 100 Jewish men and boys actually beaten to death on the streets. And everywhere there were shops being looted, furniture thrown out of the windows, There was blood, there was mayhem, there was absolute horror everywhere on this one awful, awful night of arrest, blood, murder. And you know, people all over the world could see it. Didn't have television, but we had cinemas, and in the cinema you had newsreels, you had newspapers with photographs, English people on holiday in Germany, students from all over the world studying in German universities, a cultured country, a country of great music, of arts, an amazing country that was doing these absolutely horrendous things, and they were all going on in the midst of Europe.